What's up, Gamecock fans? This is your buddy Rooster back. I got a new thing going, right? New hashtag, free sellers, free Lenor Sellers. It's time to let Lenor Sellers play free. Why do I say that? South Carolina is pretty much dead ass last in yards per game through 2 games. You say, well, they played Virginia Tech. Didn't really do anything crazy as far as running any type of score up or anything like that. Had a good first drive. We know the story, right? Then the offense went kind of flat. Got a punt return, all that stuff. So, I don't know. We got to make some changes. And my idea of the way to make that change is you got to let Lenor Sellers be Lenor Sellers. Pretty much just handed, at the end of the Virginia Tech game, you handed him the ball and you said, go win us the game. We need to do that at the start of the game. Get him back to playing schoolyard ball, backyard ball, whatever we need to do. We got to get this kid where he looks like he's having fun playing football. Because right now he looks like he's overthinking everything. He almost looks like he's stressed trying to figure everything out. And I know last week's game against South Carolina State was crappy to start with. We can make all the excuses in the world about the rain delay and all that, and starting out flat. But we got to do better. The run up the middle on first and second down and then try to throw the ball on long third downs. That's the thing. Our third down conversion rate is terrible because it's long. It seems like every time on third down we got 8 or 9 yards to get. What do? We've talked about the offensive line. Supposedly they're making that easier where they can play downhill. We got to get Sellers back to being Sellers. I know Mike Shula mentioned way back in an interview at one time, well, there was passes he could have thrown before he took off running or took a sack or something. Look, man, the kid's got to play his game. I'm sorry, Mike Shula, but he's not an NFL player yet. He's not there. And he doesn't need to be. He needs to be having fun, playing ball, throwing the ball around to his friends, his buddies, which is called his wide receivers, his tight ends, his running backs. And I get it. I know we say we don't want to really show Vanderbilt a lot of film and put a lot of things out there. And we know South Carolina, which none of the national talking heads or the media even know anything about, because half of them, no, I'd say 90% of them never even watched our game. Our game was on so late. Most of these people did not watch our game. They were either in bed. A lot of people that come out here on YouTube to talk about it all probably done got a few adult beverages in their system. They didn't watch. That we pulled everyone. And you know how I know that? Because no one has mentioned it. They don't realize that fourth quarter we had no one in there. Beamer could have ran the score up. South Carolina could have definitely ran the score up. But why? Why take the chance of putting Lenor Sellers back out there in the fourth quarter? You know, Beamer would have got crucified. I know we all watch Friday Night Lights, right? Remember Boo? The kid forgot his helmet, couldn't go. Boo goes out, cracks up his knee, out of football, that kind of stuff. Why take a chance with Sellers that late in the game? Nick Harper didn't really play that much in the second half. You know, I saw him out there running a couple plays, but there was never really anything stressful. I think you tried to get more wide receivers some confidence and get them the ball, spread it around a little bit to some other guys. Especially on that last drive, even we were kind of, what is this dink and dunk stuff? Well, the dink and dunk stuff worked because he did the short passes. We pulled all the DBs up close. They were trying to stop the short pass, and we went over the top for the touchdown for Jacobs. But I just think there comes a time, and I made a reference to this about golf, right? You see golfers, and there's different type golfers. You got say a Phil Mickelson or something like that, who's left-handed, his swing's not perfect, he plays by feel, he always has. You watch him go around and you watch his short game, he's a feel golfer. And then you have the robots, the mechanical guys that look for that perfect swing that, you're constantly working on it. And those guys are stiffer. Well, Lanorris is a feel guy. You can tell when he starts getting dialed up and you get him into some tempo, he starts feeling the game. Right now, he looks very robotic. Like he's overthinking foot placement. Where do I go with the ball? Reading it. You know what I'm saying? It's just almost like he's not playing his game. And you got to let him play his game. It's like, a basketball player. When you hit that feel, right? You can tell. I used to be the same way. Like I get in the game when I'm not thinking about it. It's almost the same way when I play golf. When I'm not really thinking about golf or hitting the ball good or whatever, and I'm just out there and I start out and I feel relaxed and I'm just like, don't care where the ball goes. I'm just going to have fun today. I play better. I did the same thing when I played basketball in high school. If I just ran out there and I just let my natural ability, I shot better. I just naturally flowed the game. I passed the ball better. When I tried to think so much about my mechanics, I wasn't free. And any of you that play a lot of golf, you're going to know this too. You go out there and you're just having fun, and all of a sudden you look around and you're playing good, and you're like, oh shit, I can have my best round today. And all of a sudden you start thinking about your mechanics. You start thinking about, well, I don't want to flub a pitch, or I don't want to hit a ball out of bounds or into the water. So you start overthinking it and get too mechanical. And that's when you start making the mistakes. It's almost like when I played better, I didn't even keep the scorecard. I just tell one of my buddies, hey, you keep the scorecard. Just write down at the end of the game, you tell me what I shot. Other than that, I don't care. And it always worked. You know what I mean? And I think that's where we got to get with Lanorris, is he's just out there throwing the ball around, having fun, put a smile back on his face, relax a little bit. Everybody's kind of worried about Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt, in all statistical categories, is better than South Carolina. Offensively, way better than South Carolina. They played Georgia Southern, which helps. Georgia Southern is not a very good football team. South Carolina State would beat the brakes off of Georgia Southern. Charleston Southern, excuse me. Sorry, Georgia Southern. Charleston Southern. South Carolina State would beat the brakes off of them. And that's a fact. Vandy scored more against Virginia Tech than South Carolina. They did, in fact. But you know what the Virginia Tech man told me? They were tired in the second half. Well, think about Virginia Tech. You played on Sunday against South Carolina, a SEC team, a very physical SEC football team. You had a short week going into Saturday, and you had to take on another physical SEC football team. Well, you had to lead at halftime. Second time, they make some change. Second half, they make some changes. Maybe you quit. What I've heard is they kind of quit. I promise you, I did not watch the second half of that game because South Carolina came on. But you quit running the ball. Drones was running. You quit doing that. The RPOs and stuff. And Vandy just brought it to you, and they got more physical. Well, here's the one thing. Virginia Tech doesn't have any depth, y'all. No one talks about that. Now, think about any team, even a SEC team that's playing back-to-back SEC opponents. It's very physical, and if you don't have depth, we talk about an SEC all the time. You win in the trenches and you win with depth. Well, Virginia Tech didn't have that, and we knew that even going to play them in the very first game, that they had brought in like 30 transfers. They didn't have a lot behind their starters, and you think 2 SEC games in a row if you ain't got no depth. And South Carolina went through this themselves. Vandy's going through this. Where you don't have a lot of depth. To the second SEC game after being really physical for a little while, man, it wears you down. It has to wear you down, right? If all you really got out there on the field, and I think Virginia Tech was missing some of their starters anyway, so they're already into the backups. And if you can't rotate your players and get them rest, pretty easy to start getting pushed around by another physical football team 2 games in a row. So I think that hurt them. And I think Vanderbilt was able to take advantage of that. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to take advantage of wearing out other teams in the second half. That's why a lot of teams, like the old Alabamas and stuff, bro, you couldn't beat them in the fourth quarter because they just beat you and wear on you. Georgia's the same way. They just beat you and wear on you, and they use their size and their strength and their depth. Do y'all remember these Georgia defenses and how many defensive linemen they were rotating in and out of football games? They were still fresh at the end of football games when everybody else is tired. And that's how they beat people. And look, South Carolina could have ran the score up against South Carolina State. Basically, the whole fourth quarter was just running timeout because we wanted to get the hell off the field. It was late. You had done spent extra hours in the locker room. All the fans was tired because they done spent extra hours running around in the rain and stuff. And they were ready to go. And how do you get ready to go? You do a running clock. You run the ball. You run the clock out. You pack it up and go. And Beamer was never going to run a score up or attempt to run a score up on Virginia Tech. Don't forget he's an alumni of Virginia Tech. He played football for Virginia Tech. He wasn't going to run up on South Carolina State either. And he could have. South Carolina State was basically done by the time we went in that fourth quarter. And I'll tell you why we know that, because we brought in all our backups, and all of a sudden, Howell, Matthew Fuller, they're getting the outside zone runs, and they're starting to gain yards. The bigger-bodied running backs were really starting to hammer on South Carolina State. But it was just to run the clock out. I think Luke Doty might have attempted one pass. Then we brought in Aaron Nolan. He attempted no passes. He just handed the ball off. Now, I wanted to see him throw it, and I was like, why bring him in and not let him throw it? He just handed it off. Beamer let the clock run out. Basically, the fourth quarter was run out the clock. Let's get the hell out of here. Get the running clock going. Run the clock out. Get to the locker room. Get to the house. Get rested up and get back for Sunday. It's a fact. No need to put anybody else out there that could have got banged up or missed a game for this week. But there's a lot of chatter going around. A lot of people, Vanderbilt's getting picked to beat us. Vanderbilt's getting picked to beat us. Look, dude, a lot of these people didn't watch our football game. They're just looking at box scores, and Vanderbilt is much better, except for in one category, which they're not that far behind us, is scoring defense. South Carolina's given up 21 points this year, and Vanderbilt's given up 23. Right? Well, you can minus off about 7 points off of South Carolina because we had all backups in, freshmen, that kind of stuff on our defense, and they got a pretty easy touchdown, kind of in trash time. But other than that, you'd say that's one area both teams are about the same. I still think South Carolina's much better. I know when they gave up 7 points, it was meaningless. Bunch of young guys out there. You're not going to get that Saturday. We already know Jatius Gear's coming back because he wasn't on the injury report. You're getting Kilgore back. He's on there, but he's probably going to play. Only two guys, I think, really that's out. Brady Hunt, I don't think he's playing. But you got two guys on there that's probably not playing. I wish Judge was coming back. I don't know what his injury is. We know he had a kind of leg brace thing on in the first game against Virginia Tech, so obviously he's not healed to be back. But we still have Cisse, Swain, Kilgore, DQ, Peyton Williams, plenty of other guys that can come in and play. And I was pretty impressed by some of the backups that came in late last week. Demon Clowney was one of them. Jerron Willis, who got the touchdown off of the fumble. Those guys played great, man. Des Yu got in. A lot of guys got sacked. We talked about it in the video the other day. Don't let what you see in numbers. Stats can lie. Because if you look at some of these teams, they're going to have really great stats. Because there's some teams that still ain't playing an SEC football game. They're going in the week. It'll be the fourth week before they play their very first SEC football game. Doesn't mean they didn't play a tough non-con game somewhere in their first three games, but teams can pad stats very easily. And they can be fooled if you don't watch the games. That's why you don't see me on here making comments about teams if I really didn't watch their football game. Like, I can't really sit down and tell you. I mean, I know Ole Miss and Kentucky was a battle, but I was kind of not watching the whole football game. I was just catching parts of it. So I really couldn't tell you a whole lot about it. Other than I can look at the box score. I can figure out Simmons struggled. The yards were down. I know Missouri was in a fight with Kansas. Kansas had to leave. Missouri had to come back. But I really haven't watched a lot of these teams with my own eyes yet. Because some of these games are just off-the-wall channels or somewhere I can't really watch them. And last week, all I could do was watch South Carolina because it was on the app. I didn't have 4 games on, and the game was so late. I just tried to watch my team, our team. And learn some things. Because I really did want to see the young guys. I wanted to learn a lot about the young guys. You know, we hear about it from practices. We hear about it from scrimmages. But once they started putting the young guys in, we actually got to physically see them. And try to get a good feel of what we do have for depth. And I think South Carolina's in really good shape. You know, what are our advantages over Vanderbilt? Well, every conversation is about offense. Everyone's always worried about offense. Well, Vandy's did this on offense. They did that on offense. They're doing this on. You still got to play against South Carolina's defense. You still got to stop our special teams. I mean, it's all part of the game. I mean, even the punter's valuable because our punter's averaging almost 50 yards. Mason Love is averaging almost 50 yards a punt. That helps you in field position. That helps you win football games. That's what everybody's, oh, well, that's boring. I don't want to talk about that. You ain't going to hear no talking head or media people out here talking. How many times y'all sit down and listen to anybody and they talk about special teams in any of these things? Well, just like they talk about South Carolina right now, ain't none of them hardly mention, well, they scored 3 touchdowns on punts. Nope, it's all about offense. And South Carolina's struggling on offense, and Lenor Sellers doesn't look good, and they can't run the football. Hey, we're winning games right now in other ways. Now, we do need to block better. I ain't going to lie about that. That needs to be straightened out this week. Well, we're told they're changing some blocking schemes so we can play downhill. Well, should be playing downhill anyway. You got to hit somebody. If you're zoning your offensive line and the guy's just standing there and there's nobody in his zone, he's not blocking anybody, he's a wasted guy. That's not a helmet on a helmet. That gives the defense the numbers. Hey, that guy's just standing over there. Hey, there ain't nobody here for me to block. What am I supposed to do? You go find somebody to hit. And they really can't go down, especially, you know what I mean? You get that guy that done went too far downfield. They're going to call anything. If it was successful, they're going to call it back on you. So the guy just really has to stand there, right? Right. And I think you can play call to help your offensive line struggles. You run screens. You run quick passes, right? Everything doesn't need to be a drop, read, and throw. Some of them can be a quick slant. You got some big body guys that can box out people. Try it. Get everyone, the defense, out of that box. Because right now everyone's crowding, and you're trying. I don't know what. You're trying to be Juggernaut from the X-Men and keep running into the wall till you bust through. Well, that hasn't worked. Try something different. Let's get that zone run going again that we've seen against Virginia Tech and late against South Carolina State. And I get it. You don't want to show all this stuff. You don't want to put it on film. SEC games matter. Does South Carolina still have a chance to win the SEC? Yes, they do. Because we ain't lost the game in the SEC yet. We ain't lost the game all year. A lot of people are standing on the ledge, and I'm like, back off, back off, back off, back off. We'll get a better judge this week of what South Carolina is. We got a judge on what Vandy was last week. Right? I don't think we got a good judge on South Carolina against Virginia Tech. You're on the road. You're in the dome. Atmosphere is different. Visually, everything's different. But hey, Vandy went on the road to Virginia Tech and beat them. But we talked about it. Depth. And I'm sorry, but Virginia Tech just don't have it. They got turmoil in their fan base, and a lot of stuff's just going wrong for Virginia Tech right now. And I feel bad for them because, South Carolina fans did this 2 years ago to Beamer when we went 5-7. Everybody wanted him fired. They were putting out a list of coaches to replace him. You got to feel for Virginia Tech when they're in a situation like that. No, I don't feel for Florida. Florida should have got rid of Billy a long time ago. You got your own punishment there, buddy. Because Florida got no excuse about recruiting. I live in Florida. You can throw a rock and hit a high 4-star, 5-star kid down here, and anybody in speed. I promise you. I've told people before. I'm like, these kids down here start down like playing pee-wee football at 3 years old. It's weird. I'm like, I've never seen, and they play year round because the weather's good, right? Florida plays football year round. There's all kinds of flag football. There's summer football. There's football. There's old man football. I even thought about going back to play a couple years ago, and I'm like, hell no. I don't heal like I used to. I ain't going back to do it, but I have buddies that do it. And I was like, no. But anyway, that's just the thing. Tomorrow, if y'all have X accounts, get on X. # free sellers. Free sellers to go out and play. Loose, have fun, just do what he needs to do to win the football game. You know what? If he turns the ball over, you have a defense to back you up. You got special teams to back you up. You got your other offensive guys that's going to help you up. Hey, turnovers are going to happen. You can't play not to have it. Hey, go back to the golf thing. You can't play not to make a bogey sometimes. You know what I'm saying? You're playing for par. But if you're playing in your mind not to make a bogey, you're not really playing for par anymore. You're playing not to make a bogey, and you start overthinking it, and what happens? Next thing you know, you're writing down a +2, double, or 3, triple bogey on your card because your mindset wasn't about making par. It was about not making bogey. You put that negative in your mind. So I want Lanorris to play without worrying about committing a turnover. You cannot play football and think in your head, man, I can't turn the ball over. I can't turn the ball over. I can't. Because the first thing that happens, you get stiff and you turn the ball over. So, free sellers. Hope all y'all like, subscribe, join the channel. Welcome to the Rooster Man. Right here at Always Cocky. I mean, we're the Gamecock Mafia over here. What y'all think? The Cocky Mafia. That's us. Anyway, hit that thumbs up button for me. I would appreciate it. Share the videos out. Tell people about me. Come chat with me. Right down there in the comment section. Let's talk some ball. You guys tell me what you think about Vanderbilt and what our chances are. Are you buying what everybody on the noise from the outside? Are y'all eating that rat poison? Or do you have faith in Shane Beamer and our football team? I'm going to have faith in Shane Beamer and our football team. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your evening. Peace.